Do you have continuity or association plan for your business?
Has anyone shared the concept of sustainability with you?
What about the need to protect the rights of minority shareholders?
What are those ingredients germane to having effective meetings?
For these and many more, tune into Corporate Governance Platform every Thursday on MITV, your darling station, on DSTV 255 and UHF 43 at 4:30 p.m.
Corporate Governance Platform is your best medium for informative and educative strategies for the practice of the corporate governance profession.
Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN, the hub of governance professionals.
Many thanks for joining Corporate Governance Platform. The program is proudly brought to you by the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN, the hub of governance professionals. And it's coming to you live from MITV Lagos. My name is Tunde Odeyemi, and this evening we are going to be looking at guides to effective remuneration policy. Guides to effective remuneration policy. And to do justice to this particular topic is my very distinguished guest, a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN, Mr. YOMI ADEBANJO. Mr. YOMI ADEBANJO is a fellow and council member of the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN. He was a former chief executive officer of City Secretariats, a company secretarial firm where he managed more than 50 companies on company secretarial, governance and compliance matters. He is presently the company secretary of FCIS Healthcare PLC, and he is a trainer with particular interest in compliance and corporate governance. Mr. ADEBANJO is an astute corporate governance professional with penchant for teaching and capacity building. Mr. ADEBANJO, we are so much delighted to have you on Corporate Governance Platform.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adeyemi.
Okay.
I'm delighted to be here.
All right. We are going to be discussing effective remuneration policy. And at this point, let me also use this opportunity to invite our viewers to be part of the program. You can ask questions or make comments on the program by sending your comments or questions to 080-2323-1287. Only text message, please, to 080-2323-1287. No phone call. Yeah, guides to effective remuneration policy. My first question really is that, remuneration is very pivotal to every organization. What are the implications if an organization does not get it right?
Well, not getting it right in terms of remuneration can spell a doom for the business. Because when we talk of remuneration, we are talking of manpower.
Okay.
And resources available to drive the vision.
Okay.
So if we are not getting it right in terms of their reward system, we are not in business. Because these are the tools, these are the human elements that help to drive the process.
Okay.
So it must be right.
It must be right.
It should be right. Yes.
Unless the organization is aiming for
a disaster.
Okay.
Because you have your own vision, you employ people to come and help you drive it. There will be something in it for them.
Okay.
And that is the reward. That
Okay.
is where the reward comes from.
Okay. There is a remuneration committee as provided for in the Nigerian Code of Corporate Governance Code, right? Now, what are the duties or the functions of the remuneration committee under that code?
If that committee is properly set up with the right people in place, the first thing the committee should endeavor to have is to have its own charter, which among other things will define the company's reward philosophy.
Okay, that means apart from the board charter, the committee will have its own separate charter.
Its own charter
Okay.
that drives its process. And one thing they must first of all aim to do is to define the business's reward philosophy. What do I mean by that? They want to define within this industry, this is where we want to play in terms of remuneration. Because where they place themselves in terms of defining themselves for reward will also attract the like of that stage. What I mean is, if you say in this industry we want to be among the first 20 high payers, that philosophy must drive the whole process of reward system.
Okay.
A company shouldn't just find itself, this is what we pay. You should be able to ask somebody in that system, what inform what you pay? And that is the philosophy I'm talking about. There must be a reward philosophy. If I set up a company, I probably want to say, in the industry where I play, I want to be among the first 10 players.
Okay.
In terms of how big it is. You know. So that is the first objective, the first aim of that committee, if properly set up with a good charter that drives its process.
It must have a reward philosophy.
It must have that philosophy.
And that is part of the functions of the remuneration committee.
And that is that's for the committee to help the company define.
Okay.
And in defining it, they shouldn't assume they know it all. There is nothing wrong if they also get consultants. If you look at that code of corporate governance, it allows committees, even the board, to use the services of consultants where that will help them in driving their purposes.
Okay, it's a catchphrase in corporate governance that remuneration should be sufficient to attract, to retain, and to motivate. And the other part of it is that it should not be excessive. Can you shed more light on this?
It should first of all attract, retain, and motivate. Yes, if you take note of where we started, the overall objective of any remuneration or reward system is to do those three things.
Okay.
Right? It's not enough to bring them in. You must be able to also have other reward system. You see, what we call remuneration, what we call reward, is not just about naira and kobo.
Okay.
There are many things that go into it. So retaining somebody is not necessarily because of how much you pay him. So a whole lot of things go into that. And in terms of being excessive, when you use the word excessive, you are talking in terms of the quantum of something.
Exactly. It should be sufficient but not excessive.
Meaning you are talking about the money aspect of the word.
Sure.
It shouldn't be too much, but the question again is, that is also subjective. When is it too much? If today you pay 100 million per month, you have to be relative about it to say it is too much. So the too much of it is relative to the company's business. What is your size of business? Can you afford to pay this out every month or every year? So is then a question of sustainability per se? So the excessiveness of it is talking about, can this company continue to pay? Because whatever a company can continue to pay is not excessive for it.
The company can afford it.
If it can afford to pay it in perpetuity, then you can't talk of excess in that sense. And it is still what the company is trying to achieve by its own philosophy, that will get the best in this industry. So it cannot be too much from my own perspective. It is a matter of affordability and sustainability. If you can afford it, you can sustain it. From the company's point of view, it is never excessive.
Okay, the other aspect is that the remuneration committee is also entrusted to develop a formal remuneration policy and structure for the remuneration of the directors and the senior management. We are clear about the directors, who are the senior management, and who are the people entrusted with the, formulating remuneration policies for employees that are below senior management.
Well, one thing you will understand, even from the perspective of law, of CABA, the level called managers are people who actually can think for the business, whose actions should bind the company. If the committee in charge of remuneration is to fix theirs, the question you then ask is, as you have rightly asked, who fixed those of others who are below? The job of that committee is not just for a strata, it's not just for a part of the business. They are looking at the business as a whole. Coming from minimum wage all through to the chairman of the board. What should they get? So you cannot actually, in the real sense of processes, say that the committee should set for senior managers, and then who else do you now say should set for others? So their job is encompassing. They may delegate an aspect of the components to management, but they should still have the architecture of what everybody should get. For instance, the committee should be able to say nobody in this business should earn less than the minimum wage plus 30%. They're giving you a structure. So let the management go and worry how that can be scaled up or scaled down. But they have the duty to reflect minimum wage, to reflect remuneration and reward system for the business as a whole. Their job is not just for the directors. No.
Okay.
It's for everybody. What they can do is to stop somewhere and say, we have given you the clue. The parameters around it, go and work it out. But this is the benchmark below which nobody in this company should go.
Okay. Let's look at a scenario here. You know, Principle 16 of the NCCG Code, Nigerian Code of Corporate Governance 2018, actually says that the board of directors should fix the remuneration of the directors, which will be approved by the shareholders, right? Now, is it proper for the board of directors of a company that is making losses for about 2 to 3 years to propose increase in the remuneration of non-executive directors?
You see, in my head, there's a lot of controversy around profit or losses.
Okay.
You see, what you call loss, you have to define it. Many people won't agree. Is it financial loss, economic loss, or accounting loss?
What is loss to the shareholders?
Loss to the shareholders is gauged from the financial statement.
So we are talking about financial loss.
Am I communicating?
Yes.
They are gauging it from the profit and loss account,
Okay.
which in itself is historical. By the time they are looking at that account, the years are long gone. That profit you say, or the loss you are recording and reflecting 9 months or 6 months after, is nowhere to be found in the current situation of that business. So what I would say is this: the fact of a loss or profit of a company is not as important as the company's liquidity. So a smart person looks at the cash flow statement, not just the profit and loss. I want to see how liquid this business is. How did you close the year under review? You might have made a loss, but you are cash rich. You have money in the bank. The loss that we have recorded for you can be as a result of many factors. One of them is depreciation. Items that do not involve movement of cash might have weighed your revenue, so much so that you end up in a loss. But in the real sense of it, you are cash rich. You also have to look at the company's age and stage. A company just setting up and be in a hurry to recover all costs, believe me, it may set itself up for losses in the next 2-3 years. That in itself will not mean that the workers are not working hard. So you cannot, because of a loss, morally, you can think that you are making a loss, you are asking for increase. But objectively, somebody will look at it. You are making this loss deliberately. We've bought an item of 100 million. We want to write it off in just 4 years. And you see we are making losses. Meanwhile, this asset will run for about 20 years. So don't judge us just like that by the accounting losses or profit. Look at our cash flow.
Okay, somebody sent a text message. Invariably, the person's name is also YOMI.
Okay.
He's saying that, Mr. Moderator, thank you very much for that question. But what happens when the company cannot pay the staff salary and the directors are being paid?
That's another question.
Okay, that's the question. That's the question from the viewer.
That's another level completely.
Okay, can you shed light on that?
If the directors are taking their own and staff are not taking their own, that's an issue for morality. And it calls for questioning on what ground should these directors be paid. But don't also forget that directors' fees is statutory.
It's statutory.
You fix it, shareholders approve it. You may question their rationale, you may question their morality, but you can't question the basis of that money. I'm not now talking of executive directors' pay.
Okay.
They don't even get paid, but they are workers too. So the directors are isolated here are the non-executive directors who get their fees for the little they have done. Okay. But for EDs, the question should be clear. Are these directors EDs? If they are EDs, there's a big question mark.
Okay, they're getting paid.
That they are getting paid and staff are not getting paid.
Okay.
I have not seen such. If that happens, it's criminal from my own perspective that EDs are getting their own money, but their staff are not being paid.
Okay, let's also look at the views of some shareholders. Some shareholders are of the view that if a company is not able to declare dividends, shareholders will always look up to their dividends. For about, let's say, 2 to 3 years, they are not able to declare dividends. They have the view that the non-executive directors should not be paid. What is your own view of that?
You see, the two items on the table are backed by statute. Dividend is a question of statute. It's a provision of the law. What you pay as dividend and who declares or who recommends dividend. Director's fee also is backed up by statute. Now, non-payment of dividend is the absolute discretion of directors if they can explain why they are not paying.
Okay.
Like I said earlier, that you are not getting dividend year 1, year 2 does not also mean these directors are not working hard. Don't forget, it's a question of consideration. I've worked for you. You are the owner of the business. Okay. So that we shouldn't forget. The shareholders own the company. They have engaged these directors to work for them. So whether you get dividend or you don't get dividend, should that affect these workers? I don't think so. I don't think so. But also, when you now take it away from economic analysis and you want to look at it from the point of view of equity, you want to look at it from the point of view of moral, you want to say, look, gentlemen, if you are not paying us dividend, don't ask for an increase. We'll pay, because we've engaged you anyway. We'll pay you your fees, but don't ask for any increase. You also have a duty to go and work it out somehow. Okay. But to say that non-payment of dividends should debar payment of a fee, I don't think there's a basis for that.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no basis for that.
Because these are views of shareholders anyway.
Hey, you see, shareholders, especially around us, they can have their own hypotheses in various ways. But the question is, can they substantiate that argument?
Okay.
The answer is no. They can't justify it. It's like you have a maid in the house. The fact that you've not been paid salary, should that prevent that poor girl from getting his own money? No. And we all have housemates, one way or the other. He has to eat. You have to pay him. So directors have expended their time while you are sleeping at home.
Okay, let's go into a little bit into clawback policies.
Right.
How can clawback policies of a company be made more effective, especially when a director that has earned incentives through false information and such director is now financially distressed or dead? How can we make clawback policies more effective?
You see, let our viewers, first of all, also understand what this clawback policy is.
Okay.
Clawback rule. It's about ensuring that if you have illicitly enriched yourself by way of bonus, whatever, the company can
Get it back. Okay.
To make it effective, the system of paying that reward, the system of rewarding must itself be proper. It must be transparent. You see, it must be clear how you get what you get. If that is clear, the incidence of being unjustly enriched will be reduced. But if it has happened, and the question now is, how do we get it back? It's simple. Getting back an excess indulgence by directors can be a matter of action.
Okay.
You can petition the appropriate regulator. And you have seen that happen in Nigeria. Many organizations, not wound up, but you have administrators appointed over them. One is a case in question, in point, but I won't mention any name. The directors unjustly enrich themselves, buying themselves all sorts of things. But the regulator came to appoint an administrator over them and sacked everybody. So clawback is principle and enforcement of it cannot only be done by insiders. You need the help of an national like a regulator to get back forcefully what people have taken illicitly.
Okay, assuming a remuneration survey shows that a particular board is earning more than what is obtainable in the industry, what can the board do?
Assuming a
survey shows that the board of a company under that industry is earning more than what is obtainable in that industry, can the board do anything to that remuneration?
The question I also ask is, what is wrong in setting a new benchmark? If the industry is paying currently at the highest of 10 naira, and I look at my board, I say, look, they are worth more than this. I want to pay them 20 naira. I'm setting a new benchmark. I'm setting a new standard. Don't forget where we started. If I can afford it and can sustain it in a healthy manner for the business, so be it. That's not a crime. Don't you want an increase in your pay? You want it. If it is doubled or tripled, won't you take it? It's a new standard for you, thereby. So if a company looks at the industry and says this industry is poor, nobody in this industry rides a Lexus Jeep. And they look at this industry as if the industry is poor. An example, they should all forgive me. There's an industry where I've met their MDs as a function. The highest vehicle they brought was a Camry. Somebody can be annoyed and say, look at this industry. Look at the MDs of this industry. We can't continue this way. So if that person does that to his board, you now see want to do something punitive? No. You're just setting a new benchmark, a new standard. The question here is it affordable? Is it sustainable in a healthy manner? If that is possible, they should go ahead.
Okay, is it affordable? Is it sustainable in a healthy manner? So you can afford to, if you can afford to do more than the industry benchmark, please go ahead. Mr. ADEBANJO, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you, sir.
And thank you for sharing your thoughts on remuneration policies. This is where we wrap it up on the show. We'd like to thank you for being part of it. Thank you, YOMI, that sent the guy that sent the text message. And for all our viewers, thank you for being part of the show. I remain your host, Tunde Odeyemi. My producer has been Mr. Adeboye Galabiro and the technical director, Mr. Habib Adejobi. Please join us again next week, same station, same time. And keep spreading the gospel of corporate governance. Bye for now.
Thank you, sir.
Do you have continuity or association plan for your business?
Has anyone shared the concept of sustainability with you?
What about the need to protect the rights of minority shareholders?
What are those ingredients germane to having effective meetings?
For these and many more, tune into Corporate Governance Platform every Thursday on MITV, your darling station, on DSTV 255 and UHF 43 at 4:30 p.m.
Corporate Governance Platform is your best media.
The rights of minority shareholders.
What are those ingredients germane to having effective meetings?
For these and many more, tune into Corporate Governance Platform every Thursday on MITV, your darling station, on DSTV 255 and UHF 43 at 4:30 p.m.
Corporate Governance Platform is your best medium for informative and educative strategies for the practice of the corporate governance profession.
Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN, the hub of governance professionals.